Parents at home might be familiar with this struggle, finding reliable childcare so they can work. WDBJ7's Mitch Carr looked into the causes of that difficulty in this week's Target 7 report.
One of the most critical issues in our hometowns is childcare. The costs are high, anywhere from $150 per week per child to as much as 3 times that, and they are rising. The lack of availability is the foundation for this growing problem, no matter which hometown you call home. Tonight, in a Target 7 report, we look into why it feels like a miracle for 2 working adults to find help taking care of their kids while they work.
I missed you. What is that? That's a camera.
It's pickup time at Little Sprouts of Roanoke, a daycare Lindsay Woods believes she is lucky to have found.
They told me early on, when you get pregnant, go and put her on wait lists at several different places as soon as you can.
And before little Oakland took her first breath, that's exactly what Lindsay did.
I put her on 2 different wait lists when I was in my 2nd trimester. And by the time we were ready to send her, when she was 8 months old, we were not at the top of either of those wait lists.
Woods and her wife had a talk about whether or not they could both work, a scenario many Roanoke families face without affordable child care.
He doesn't want to leave.
Ashley Hartford and her spouse had the same talk. They have 4 kids and have lived all over the country.
This is probably the most difficult location that I have lived in order to find childcare.
One of her older kids was at a preschool she liked in Roanoke, so she signed up her son Finn on the wait list in utero.
He had been on the list for 3 years.
And if you've just moved here from out of town, good luck.
I guess there's just not enough options, or it's not affordable, or there's no spots available.
So why aren't there more daycares? Clearly, there's a need. We asked Chris Foley, who just opened Little Sprouts with his wife Annalie in the middle of last year.
You know, it's a passion project.
It took Chris and Annalie 3 years to open Little Sprouts. The first issue was finding an acceptable space. Foley says they called 30 churches and got 2 responses, one of which was a no. The other came from the church in which he currently sits.
So you have to get the property, and then you have to get it zoned, which for us took almost a year, and then you can file your application with the Department of Education.
And while you wait, there is no money coming in.
Unless you own the property, you're bleeding money. Like every month, it's another check. You're looking at a year of costs before you have anybody come in. Any children come in, any money coming in, and then there's still a lot of question marks about what's that money going to look like.
State regulations also determine a lot about the kids the daycare can take. The state requires 1 child care worker for every 4 children under 6 months of age.
The state requires any daycare that takes care of kids under the age of 2 to have a door that has direct access to the outside. The problem with the room that they rent in this church is that it's on the 2nd floor.
So right away, they know every child they accept must be at least 2 years old.
Watch this. Watch this.
Foley and his wife are the only full-time employees at Little Sprouts. Because like in many industries, Foley says good help in childcare is hard to find.
Essentially, you could go work a fast food restaurant and make essentially what you're making to work in childcare. Childcare is rewarding, but it's also, you're working with kids and it can be stressful.
Space, zoning, finding qualified employees, keeping those employees in a high burnout job. Then there's the cost to parents out there.
Wow.
I'm sure as a parent, you're like writing these checks like, this place is making money hand over fist, right? But they don't, know, insurance doubled last year.
Do you think that the system for childcare in Virginia is functional?
I don't think that the system for childcare nationwide is functional, truly.
And for a parent, finding a place that you like, that you can afford, that has an open space for your child, well, it's tough enough to make many families just give up.
I believe that it forces a lot of parents to have to make choices about financial situations for themselves that maybe they don't want to have to make.
Lindsay Woods said finding Little Sprouts felt like a miracle.
Absolutely. Huge. Plus, this place is close to home, so that was just an extra bonus. But if it were 15, 20 minutes away, I would still drive her to where it is.
And if you don't have kids and you don't think this is your problem, Woods believes it eventually becomes your problem.
People have to stay home. They have to use their PTO. They can't go on vacation. They get burnt out. It's a domino effect on not just the parent, but everyone around the parent, the parent's coworkers.
And then, of course, there are the children.
If we made sure like all the children between ages 2 and 5 were getting the developmental resources that they need, I think we, across the board, things would be a lot better.
Lack of available space, lack of affordability, lack of qualified employees who want to stay on the job. These problems are not just local, they are nationwide, and they have reached Washington, D.C. 2 senators, one from each side of the aisle, have a plan to help. We'll tell you about that plan and get a daycare owner's reaction to it tomorrow, right here on WDBJ 7.